Hey, what's up, everybody? Welcome back to Conversations in Pop Culture, where I have with me cosplayer DJ Croft, who is known for his unique spin on Laura Croft. So, welcome to the show.
Thank you, Andrew. It's so nice to have me. I'm so
I
excited today.
I'm excited too for a lot of reasons. One of the reasons why I reached out to you is because I love Tomb Raider as a fan of
Really?
games. I'm a big fan of the movies. You know, I don't really know what's going on with the remake, but that's a different discussion for a different
Oh,
day.
yes. Okay, yes, we can talk about that too.
That's a different discussion for a different day.
Yes.
Obviously, things happen in Hollywood that are out of my control right there.
Yes.
And I sort of just tipped my hat off on one of your cosplays of what you are famous for and what you
Mm-hmm.
do. But before we get into it, and I am a little bit curious, how did you get into cosplay?
You know what? It kind of relates to what you just mentioned about Tomb Raider. You know, I have an amazing cousin of mine that I actually grew up with. She had a PlayStation 1. The original PlayStation 1, not the Slim, the original PS1. Yeah. She had, so you remember back on the PS1 when they had those like demo discs that you can play. Yeah, those were my favorite. So I remember she had two demo discs. One of them had Tomb Raider 2. The other one had the Tomb Raider 3. The first one that I ever played, from the best of my knowledge, I was 4 years old. I think it was Tomb Raider 3 demo. And in Area 51, Nevada. Yeah, and for some reason I just got hooked on this chick that's like, badass and like shooting people and going on, different adventures. I think as a kid I kind of knew I was going to be adventurous. I used to climb trees a lot. But but yeah, I just kind of fell in love with this character. I don't know what it is. I wanted to see more Tomb Raider. At the time we were only limited to two demo discs, so I was like, well, there has to be a full game. Um, and so I guess as I got a little older, I actually ended up with the PS1 somehow. I don't know how I ended up getting one, but I actually my first official Tomb Raider game was Tomb Raider: The Last Revelation. Oh my god, that is actually one of my favorite Tomb Raider games. That's number one for me. And Shadow of the Tomb Raider, it's in the top three. Yeah, but the Last Revelation is my favorite game of all time. And this is growing up as a kid. Oh, I have to tell you a funny story. So I guess I could say I started cosplaying when I was like 9 or 10. I used to embarrass my brother because he was in high school. He would have his friends over, playing the PS2, and I always wanted to dress up like Laura Croft. So I would tie a T-shirt around my head for like in a ponytail for hair, and then I would wear like one of my little tank tops and I would use like my little underwear, shorts for shorts. Then I had these little really cool looking brown boots that I would put on too. And then I would put all that on, and I would use potato chip bag clips for guns. I would walk into the room while my brother and his friends are in there, and he would just get so embarrassed. Literally, that was the first time I could say I was trying to be Laura Croft. I just didn't really realize that there was a thing called cosplay. It's really embarrassing. But I look back and I laugh because I embarrassed my big brother. It was hilarious. Yeah, I did it several times to him. Um, so I think to fast forward way in present time, I think 4 years ago, what made me get up and be Laura Croft is, I don't know, I just always really felt attached to her character because I see a lot of qualities in her that I see in my personal self. You know, Even though that Laura Croft Tomb Raider is a British Caucasian female, it doesn't mean that she should only dedicate to that type of demographic. I think Laura Croft, has dedicated to all types of people from all different backgrounds, races, and genders and sex. I mean, obviously, us as men, she definitely inspired us. So,
More than inspired, but each to their own.
huh?
More than inspired, but each to their
Oh,
own.
okay. I'm actually being light with my words. Definitely more inspired. She created my life the way it is now. And I mean, our life. So I was like, you know what? I want to be Laura Croft, despite her being a female and Caucasian. Who says I can't be Laura Croft? So I actually did some research on creating an official Lara Croft costume from the classic era with the green tank top, and I did pants, not shorts, because I'm about being the male version, not so much like a cross gender version. So I actually made my first cosplay prop. The backpack, the brown backpack, I made that from scratch. I wish I would have brought it out. It's in my cosplay boxes. I have all my other stuff over here, but I didn't bring that. I don't know why I didn't. But yeah,
So,
I
so
started.
to talk about that,
Huh?
because we've seen in cosplay, guys dress as girls, girls dress as guy characters, people modify. We've seen mashups, but you obviously took a gender bend to it.
Yeah,
I think is a safe
yeah,
way to put it, and did the
yes,
male version of Laura Croft when
I
you could
did.
have done any version in
Yeah,
reality. And so I'm just curious because we don't usually see it go that way. We see it go the other way with gender.
yeah.
And so what was the like inspiration and the idea behind that? Because that's part of the reason why I wanted to interview you because it's super fascinating to see it go the other way versus the way that it normally goes. If it
Yeah,
makes any sense.
yeah. Oh yeah, yeah. You know what? I think actually there was like a few male cosplayers. There were actually male that were cosplaying Laura Croft actually, and then I think that really what gave me the drive to be like, oh my gosh, I can do this. So I think that was the start of me being influenced on the idea that I can be a Laura Croft. Just seeing like a few other three other males cosplaying Laura Croft, and so that's how I got started. I started figuring out what is cosplay, how to do cosplay. I literally made the classic Laura Croft Tomb Raider backpack, the big square one, the one in her classic games, from scratch, from a cardboard box and leather that you buy at Walmart. So, I started doing research. I went online of figuring out how to make this, how to make that. Like Andrew, I never knew I was so crafty until I started cosplaying. It is crazy. And the thing is, I'm well into my 20s, and I never discovered this talent in high school. So that's how I got started. And then I had my first photo shoot in Atlanta, which is where I live now. I'm originally from Huntsville, Alabama, but I had to move out of Alabama. So I wanted to move out of Alabama. So I went to Atlanta for my first photo shoot. And, I feel like when it comes to cosplay, me personally, I'm all about accuracy. Accuracy and perfection. You know, I don't want to be taking pictures and looking like a cosplay. I want to actually look like I'm in the movie, the real character. I'm really big on perfections and like things like that. So I think when it comes to cosplay, you have to study pictures of the actual characters, how they pose, how they do their facial expressions, the way they have their head tilt and things. I think it's been important for people to learn their face angles too as well. I did do a lot of modeling. I have done a lot of modeling, so that has helped me with knowing my angles, my face shapes. I mean, of course, if you're a person that has like a round face, you never want to like take a picture like facing forward. You always want to do like an angle to give a certain shape. So I did my research on that, looking at different other male cosplayers, and then I was like, okay, I'm going to put all this knowledge to the test. So when I went to Atlanta, I did my photo shoot. It actually turned out pretty successful. And I think I look like Laura Croft. I don't know what the world thinks, but that was my first take on getting into cosplay, and that is the main reason why I do cosplay because of Laura Croft. She has played a tremendous role in my life.
And to even go further with this cosplay, so there's a few variants, as I like to call, where you have the gray tank top, you got the blue tank top, you got the
Yes.
bow, you also got the
Yeah.
guns that are in play. I happen to like
Yeah.
guns. I think guns are awesome, but that's a
I
different
think guns are
discussion.
awesome too.
But
I tell you, if it wasn't Resident, right now we're in a pandemic because of coronavirus. If the pandemic turns into a Resident Evil pandemic, I'll be the first one with guns to kill zombies. So yes,
we're gonna
yes,
get to that. We're gonna get to that. I promise. I
yes, we're
promise.
gonna get to that. Oh, awesome! I'm excited for that portion.
But
Yeah.
to even talk about those, what was it like to create? I guess what I like to call variants, and what I'm coining, because I'm a comic book guy and I collect
Yeah.
comic book variants. So when
Yes.
somebody does a cosplay of the same character, but it's a different version of that character, that's a variant, in my opinion. So I'm just curious, what was that all like, and building that out? I know the blue one is somewhat special to you.
Yeah.
So what was that entire process like of saying, oh man, I could go and expand?
Yeah. Yeah. That's what I felt. I feel like it's been a journey with me, um, with Laura Croft. Just being able to be different versions of her. I think the journey has been educating for me and learning how to make new cosplay props that has challenged me, and just discovering more about myself that I didn't know before. And I think that's been the experience with learning how to create different, variations of Laura Croft.
Yeah, and to talk about that blue one, because that blue one had something to do with GameStop, where you were in that.
Yeah, okay, yeah. No, that was the advertisement for Shadow of the Tomb Raider. As you can see, I got the book right here, the Shadow of the Tomb Raider art book. Um, and so that incident, that was amazing. Like GameStop allowed me to come in and be like an official ambassador for Lara Croft. And that was like amazing. I mean, for me to be a guy and to be able to have that, kind of opportunity was incredible. I felt really good. People coming in, they want to take pictures with me and everything. And so it was great. Honestly, I think Shadow of the Tomb Raider is actually one of my favorite games in the reboot. It was definitely a true Tomb Raider game. Better than the last one. So, yeah, for sure.
And to even go further off of that, because it is very cool in general to sort of have that, I guess, opportunity to be a guy and doing it, because
Yeah.
not to put down any female cosplayers, but female
Of course not.
get more opportunity than men do in this sector.
Yeah, they do.
And so it's very much a nice thing to see that reversed and to get that opportunity. Not to mention to get it with something you love, it's something that you enjoy, and people responding so well to it as well.
Yeah.
And I don't remember when Shadow came out exactly, but obviously this was at least 5 years plus ago, if I'm not mistaken.
It was 20. It was actually, it was 2 years ago. It
But
was
I'm off by
September.
far. I'm
Yeah, yeah,
clearly off.
yeah. September 14th, 2018. And honestly, Shadow Tomb Raider is one of my favorite outfits. Like because it's so it's so Tomb Raider. Like just the detail of the outfit and the different color variations on the tank top. She just looks so bad as Shadow Tomb Raider. That's my favorite cosplay costume. And it was the most difficult Tomb Raider costume I've ever had to make out of all the variations of her. Oh my god, you don't understand. Making that tank top, because in Shadow Tomb Raider, the tank top is blue, but she has like black little jersey pieces on it. Oh my god, I had to do a lot of research to learn how to cut a shirt. I didn't know how to sew, so I used fabric glue, but it worked out because it was, like the real deal. Yeah.
And we're going to talk about creation in a second here, but I do want to stay on topic with Tomb Raider, because you also got
Yeah.
something fun with Tomb Raider too, where you got
Yeah.
to almost create a short movie. You created two, actually.
I created four. Yeah.
You created four. He created four.
Yes, four.
So
Yeah.
it's not that you just created it. You wrote it. You directed it.
I did.
You were pretty much the producer on it as well.
Yeah.
I think you
Yeah.
performed all your stunts in it, if I'm not mistaken.
I did. I did.
And obviously you had a massive hand in it. I'm sure there were a few people who probably helped you, right?
Oh yeah, of course.
But
Yeah. I mean, I couldn't do it all by myself.
yeah.
So.
But even like, what inspired that? Because very few franchises have fan movies. Like the last major fan movie I saw was
Oh really?
the Resident Evil fan short back in the day from like 10 years ago of Resident Evil 4.
I haven't seen that one. The last one I've seen was the Friday the 13th one that just came out. Actually, two of them came out last month. I haven't seen the Resident Evil one.
Well, the Resident Evil 4 one is amazing. It condenses Resident Evil 4 down into 45 minutes. It's amazing, and it's so
What?
production. It's amazing, but that's not what this is about. This is about you, not them.
Okay. Yes. Okay. Back on topic. Yeah.
So like, what was the inspiration for that? Because I just think it's so fascinating when people go
Oh
and do stuff like
man.
this and
Just
take on a big project.
it's you know what? I have so much passion to get ready to release what I'm about to say. It just I don't know. That's a lot. Like I've seen like other female Lara Croft cosplayers do fan films, and at the time I was already a male Lara Croft, so I was like, well, I might as well do a male fan film too, break the barrier, because I haven't really seen one. I've seen one, but I was like, okay, I can take ideas from this and take it to the next level. But also, I just always felt like I'm like Lara Croft. I don't know what it is. But I am afraid of heights. That's a secret that I don't tell anybody. I'm afraid of heights, but everything else, I'm very adventurous. I'm very bold. I'm very strong-minded. I like to bounce off walls. That's what she does. She climbs and jumps everywhere. So I just have so many characteristics about myself that's like her. So I wanted to actually bring that to life instead of just being in front of the camera and saying cheese and then that's it. I wanted to actually bring it to life and put it in motion. I was like, I'm gonna make this happen. I've done four, so I've done them. I've done 4 films for every year. So I started in 2016, then 17, then 18. My last one was 19 last year. So, so yeah, that's the motive behind it.
And one of the things that I think is great about this is that these are the cosplays, and your Laura Croft cosplays that you wear are the ones that are on Instagram that you built, and it creates this
Yeah,
wearability. Yeah,
yeah,
something that I've been having a conversation with a lot more cosplayers at the moment is that you go to a con and you see people who have cosplays that are elaborate, but it's not wearable, and like they're dying in like
yeah,
cosplays and they can't sit down, and it's like they're on their feet for like
yeah,
12 hours, and like it
yeah,
looks awesome, but like this obviously looks and feels and seems more like a movie prop than even a cosplay prop, if that
yeah.
makes any sense. And so, as a creator, how does that make you feel? Somebody who put all this together, that you created, not it's still a cosplay, but of a different sort of movie wearable type thing. On top of also, I would imagine that it's somewhat comfortable. It's also somewhat durable, and it does change the nature of
Yeah,
how cosplays can be built and made and things like that.
yeah, yeah, and so you're related this to the film, right?
What?
I'm sorry, you're relating this to the film, right? Of the outfits that I'm able to wear,
Yeah, yeah,
that's
in
been
your
breaking,
films,
right?
in your films
Um,
and all that stuff. Yeah.
yeah. Well, I had to really sit down and think what costume or what outfit I wanted to be, that I wanted to wear in the film. I was like, well, I told myself I need something practical because I don't want my cosplay stuff to break. So I'd be highly pissed. So I just had to the cosplay props that I've always made it to where it was wearable. So I was already pretty much set up for the film for the most part. It's only in my last film where the backpack that I use, I had to buy that. I had to buy a real backpack because my cosplay one, I was not about to ruin it because I did flips, I did cartwheels, I got like punched down or something like that. So imagine me falling on my back and then my backpack just gets smushed, like smushed like a freaking piece of mashed potato. So I hadn't really had to make that many adjustments because the cosplay props that I've made it wearable for films. It's just certain things on the outfit I have to change out. I think, yeah, like the backpack example. Yeah.
So now we're gonna talk about your other cosplays in a second here, but I do
Okay.
want to stay with Tomb Raider for this entire process because
Okay.
I am very curious on how people build their cosplays and what is known as inside baseball. So for you, where do ideas come from once you have what you want to cosplay as? Like, how does that creative process start with you building out the cosplay and sketching it and really
Mm,
getting an idea of how to build it? Because obviously, you have to have some conception of something.
yeah. 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 The idea when I started making a costume, like for example. I can just become my Power Ranger costume. So example, I actually was gonna buy the costume, but when I looked at the prices, like $1,000 for the helmet, I was like, hell no! I'm gonna make this costume 'cause I know that I can do it. So the idea, so okay, I was like, so the first thing I do with a costume, I examine the outfit, the shirt, the pants, whatever other gear the costume has. So I think to myself, how can I start with this piece first? Like, for example, the armor from the Power Ranger, which I have up here. I actually made that from scratch. Later. So I had to tell myself, what would I start with first in this costume? So I was like, well, let's start with the chest piece first. So, so going into the chest piece, I'm online doing, looking at reference pictures, going on YouTube, finding people who have already made this before, and seeing what kind of like materials I need first. I think as a cosplayer, you need to kind of have an outline first. First, do research on how you can make the costume, and then go buy the materials. So I go buy the materials. I go to if you live in the United States, you go like to Hobby Lobby or Walmart. Um, so you find I use all the EVA foam now. When I first got started, I was using a lot of cardboard, which it still worked out for me. But as a cosplayer, you grow. You learn new materials to use to make yourself look more realistic. So that's the second step, finding the materials. Then the third step is actually taking everything you have gathered with the reference pictures and the materials and putting everything together. So, I mean, you just don't put everything together. You start with certain pieces of that object first. That would be the easiest to get out the way first to get to the more difficult, complex objects around the product. If that makes any sense. Like
Yeah.
for my armor here, I had to start with the chest piece first before I even put on the gold strips and the chest emblem. So I had to take the EVA foam that I had and put it on my body first. And that was the main first piece that I started with because you need that foundation first before you put on the other gold, adjacent pieces. So I hope I'm able to describe like how the process works. It's like a step by step thing, you know.
And then even going off of that,
Yeah.
with because nothing ever goes as planned. Just
No, it does not.
just by nature.
Unfortunately, Andrew, it doesn't. Yeah.
This isn't something that just happens overnight. It's not something that sometimes you need modifications. I'm sure that you have stories on some
Oh my
players
God.
that
I do.
built it and then it just like fell apart or it wasn't breathable. I was speaking to somebody from
Oh my
Australia.
gosh. Yes. That was not breathable when I first put it on my body. Yeah. Because I was like, babe, I think I need help. I can't breathe. And I think I need to get this. I think I need to cut this, make it a little bit wider, because this is not going to be functional for a con. And then that's when you start feeling disappointed. You're like, oh my gosh, I spent all this time making this and it doesn't fit or it breaks. So that's when, as a cosplayer, you gotta be creative and just kind of work with what you got, or you can start all over if you have time. So I kind of expanded it instead of making a new one because that bad boy was like 15 plus hours. I was not about to start over again. I just added some extra layers of EVA foam to kind of make it wider for myself. So yeah, those are examples like that. Yeah.
And to even talk about that because obviously it's not even just time when you're
Hmm.
building a cosplay. A lot of it is also money, it's effort,
It's
especially
money. Hmm.
because one of the challenges with cosplay is that finding materials, especially EVA foam, is pretty accessible, all things considering. But
Yeah, eBay and Amazon are your best friend if you're a cosplayer. Awesome.
but other things can be more expensive, especially as you go up in higher materials or rarer materials, or even going back 5 years ago, certain things were not as available as they are now. So, and then
Yeah.
on top of that, it's pricing because everybody's got
Hmm.
a budget. I mean, you said that you couldn't build that helmet, or you were going to buy that helmet for $1,000.
Yeah.
But even
The only
still,
thing I yeah. The only thing I did was I got someone to 3D print it for me. you know, because I don't have a 3D printer in my house. So, but other than that, once I got ahead and painted it myself. No way I'm paying someone $1,000. No way. I can make it for free. Yeah, exactly.
So
Yeah,
even going off of that though, even though it's less than $1,000.
of
That
course. Yeah.
but you still have to put money into your cosplay. So how did you go about balance? The finding of certain materials or selling for less materials, and also pricing, and also just availability. Because I mean, COVID-19 is going on right now,
Yeah.
and I was speaking to people from Australia and the UK. In the UK, they're not having as big of an issue as they are in Australia of just getting materials.
Oh, okay.
And so obviously, and I don't know how. I'm not a cosplayer. I enjoy cosplay, but I've never built one. So I don't know what
Mhm.
the exact material sourcing looks like. But what I do know is that obviously we're in the middle of a pretty rough time in the United States. So I don't
Yes,
know
we are.
if
Yeah.
getting materials and even how you're making determinations on pricing and certain sacrifices and things like that, because it's obviously a very different time, especially with no cons going on.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. Oh, don't talk about the cons. That makes me depressed. Speaking of cons, I I'm actually I was supposed to go to San Diego Comic Con this year, and you know that's really hard to get into. I've met people cosplayers that has tried like 5, 10 years and they still haven't got in, and I've gotten in the first year that I applied. Then the pandemic hit. I'm like, okay, well, Jesus sucks. So fortunately, though, they moved my membership to next year. So hopefully by then the coronavirus is over. That's another thing that has been, unfortunate about 2020 or the cons, you know. But yeah, that's something that's going on right now.
So how
But
do you balance the challenges of pricing and all that stuff? Because that's obviously something a lot of people struggle with in the
yeah,
cosplay community, from big people all the way down to the small guys.
yeah. Easy. Just find cheap, material like cardboard, ABA foam, and spray paint. Really, those are the top three things. Oh, and either super glue or hot glue. I'm still learning how to sew, so I haven't got there yet. But those are the top four things you need. It's so cheap. You can make literally anything out of those four items, and I think that has helped me save money. Because that's originally how I started cosplay, anyways. Cardboard, EVA foam, hot glue or super glue. So I just think that you can build something out of nothing. And I think that's what people may not understand sometimes. They look at like this grand cosplay costume and think that they have to spend so much money to make this. But that's not reality. You can actually make things from scratch. All it takes is doing research and finding what materials to use. Like, plastic is cheap. Plastic is basically almost free. So you can use plastic to make certain cosplay props. Yeah.
And speaking about another grand cosplay, I'm going to make a hard shift here because I want to get back into the video game stuff because that's
Yeah.
more fascinating. And
Hell yeah.
let's talk about Metal Gear Solid 3. And
Metal Gear Solid.
that,
Yeah.
that, that's, that's a fun one that you did. And you got like the ammo belt, you got
Yeah.
grenades, you got guns, you're shirtless. For those who are
Yeah.
interested,
Yeah. And we
some
have
people
one. Yeah.
like you're a muscular guy. I mean, it's not like anything like for those who are
Thank
seeing
you.
this, you're pretty jacked for what you are. So it's like clearly more than me.
Uh-huh.
So what was that entire thing like?
Well, you know what? I'm a 90s kid. So going back to the PlayStation 1 again, I grew up with my big brother playing Metal Gear Solid 1. That game to me was really scary when I was a kid. And you know what's so crazy? I never really got into the franchise as much until I was older. When I had the Xbox 360, I think I played the remasters, and I've enjoyed the first two games, and I got into the third one. I was like, okay, this is a dope, this is a dope dude. I like him. So let me just try to make a cosplay of him. The origins of my cosplay characters or people or characters that I feel like that I relate to, or they share some kind of characteristic about them that I have in myself. Because I feel like if I don't cosplay a character that I'm not really connected to, the photos don't turn out right because I won't be as passionate. I won't feel like I'm the character. I mean, Solid Snake, he just has like this badass about him, like he's just firm and like confident. You know, that's kind of what I feel within myself. So I was like, you know, I'm gonna make um, Metal Gear Solid 3 costume. So that's how that got started. Yeah.
And what is the reception to that cosplay? Because obviously it's very military, but also there's a huge group of people who love Metal Gear Solid. I can't speak today. Metal Gear Solid, and also people really like the video games, where 10 years ago, video game cosplay stuff wasn't as big as it is now.
Yeah. Very true.
So
Um,
how is that all received? Because it used to be, I don't know how long you've been cosplaying, but I've been going to cons since like 2004, and it used to
oh
be very
wow.
much anime at anime cons, very slow deviation from video game stuff.
Really?
And now when you go to a Comic Con, it's everything across the board. And
Across the board.
and I
Yeah.
mean, so you have things that aren't even video game or anything like that. So I'm just curious how like you've noticed that stuff and how it's been received because now it's a very different landscape.
Mm-hmm. Okay. So basically you're saying how do
How is your
like
cosplay received?
well apparently it's received positively, you know. Thank God, you know. You know, speaking of that, you know, I want to speak about that actually. Um, you know, because I think I've slightly just experienced some discrimination from some Tomb Raider fans, with me being a male Lara Croft. Um, but you know, those are things I'm just like, really? You're discriminating towards me because I'm living my passion? Come on, let's take you and put you in front of the camera and see how well you take a little cosplay. That's what I want. This is what I want to tell these internet trolls. But I don't. I just block them. But you know, other than that, mostly it's been positive. I haven't really experienced any racial issues though. That's fortunate because I have seen that all over. I have seen that on the internet that a lot of black cosplayers get discriminated against, and I think that is complete bullshit. You know, a person that doesn't have to be in the box. And I hope that I hope that I've broken that mold. And I hope that I've inspired people to know that you can be anything you want to be as long as you're passionate about it.
I
So,
agree. I agree. I think the mold is slowly being broken, and I don't even think to not even to even add further to the racial argument. You know, size is also a big thing that is brought up. You know,
mm-hmm.
there are people who are all different sizes to
Different sizes. Yep.
and you know what it is it's you could cosplay as whatever you want as long as it's appropriate. And what I mean by that is you can't be inappropriately dressed as a con, but at a con,
I've seen it.
and there is a line. There is a line.
Yeah, there's a line. There's a
But
line.
that doesn't mean you can't be that character. You just have to make sure that you're not, you can't be wearing practically nothing and be a certain size. I'm
Oh,
just
I've
saying.
seen it. I've seen it. I just looked at the person like, really? You're showing up like this?
I know it's not politically correct. I know it's not politically correct, but believe me when I say this, in this circumstance, there are, you have to go pretty far to cross that line, though. You have to intentionally cross that line. I'm just saying on that, but I think that mold though is being broken, and I think that it will more or less be eliminated, almost like 90 to 95% in the next 5 years.
Oh yeah, of course, yeah, for sure.
And even to talk further off of that mold, I mean, you did a Superman, and you did Black Superman,
Yep,
and
I sure did.
I don't know if you know that DC did a Black Superman.
I've heard of him before. Yeah, yeah.
So
He's the guy who wears the blue suit, right?
in Action Comics 9 of the New 52, there is a Black Superman who is on Earth 23, who's the president of the United States,
Okay.
and I believe this was during Obama's term. I believe it was
Okay.
somewhat of a reference. It wasn't in the main line, but it's
Yeah.
Earth 23, and you have Superman being the president of the United States, solving world issues, and it was only like it was like a one shot
Wow.
part of it, but it was a cool issue because they ended one arc and they didn't want to start the next.
Hmm.
So I don't know if you knew that, but
No, I never knew that.
it's a very cool book. It's a fun book.
Okay.
They haven't done anything with it, but it is still sort of canon to some degree in the
Yeah.
New 52 universe. So it's on Earth 23, which means they can do whatever they want with it, which is awesome if you think about
Oh,
it.
that's
But
awesome.
let's
That's
talk about
cool.
that.
Well, what I think about that is Hollywood, where you guys are at, call me. My phone is right here. That's what I say to that.
But what was it like to be doing Superman? Because Superman is so much of America. He's
It
such an
is.
iconic character. Everybody knows
It is.
Superman, you know, and
I'm.
you can't hate Superman. You really can't. I mean, I guess you could. If you're
Yes, you
Lex
can.
Luthor, or you're Brainiac, or you're, Bizarro, sure, you could hate Superman. But beyond that, it's really hard to hate Superman.
Yeah, I think my experience with Superman is incredible. I love Superman. Superman, I think he's a perfect role model for us men, us males. Like he's just so like strong, so confident, so bold. Um, he's just like fierce. And I was like, oh my gosh, I have to be Superman because these are some of the characteristics that I feel that I feel I have within myself. So that costume was made from scratch. I looked at some of the Superman costumes and they were pricey, $1,000 again. We're back on the $1,000 topic. I'm just like, man, like whoever the seller is, what makes you think I'm gonna buy $1,000 costume when I can make it myself? Literally, I took a dark blue spandex and I used foam sheet to make the S on the chest. So I think the story behind Superman is, I want to feel, confident, bold, and brave and courageous. And when I put on the costume and I'm walking around the cons, I guess people notice me because I'm just walking strong. It's more than just the costume. It's like an internal, thing for me with Superman. It really is. I love Superman.
And there's some cool photos of you as Superman, and somebody's holding you up, and it looks like you're flying. And I think it's
Yeah,
funny. I think it's funny. So, what is the story behind those photos? Because it's another black cosplayer,
yeah,
and I think he's
yeah,
Superman too, from my understanding.
yeah.
So
Well,
what is like you getting picked up and looking like you're flying? Because it's a great shot. You can't help but
yeah.
smile when you see it.
Well, thank you. Well, the story behind that, you know what? That was actually the other guy's idea, because he was like, okay, hey, okay, yeah. He's like, hey, let's try this stunt. His name is Michael, by the way. Yeah. He's a cool cosplay too. But he was like, oh, hey, man, let's try this. Let me pick you up. I was like, oh, okay, sure. Let me see what you're about to do. So he picked me up, and I was like, bam, yeah, this is it. This is like two Supermans looking badass. But I'm flying. He's like, hooding me up. So the story behind that was to look like two strong male characters, and and fearless. I think there was a story behind that. But as far as my photos, my idea was to capture Superman. What is Superman? How does he look? How does he walk? It goes back to me what I stated earlier. My photos I try to look realistic. I try to look like I'm from the movie. I don't try to look like a cosplayer that's just trying to pose in a costume and be like, hey, no. I try to make mine look realistic as possible. So, I did research again, looking at different poses and things that I think a Superman is. Like this is Superman. You can't see my whole body, but Superman does this. He does this. So it's just like a lot of strength that he gives. So I think that's the story behind it.
And
If
then
that makes sense.
let's go to the other side of the Superman equation, and that's Batman, because they don't really get
Yes, I
along.
knew you was gonna get the Batman. Yeah.
And this one's interesting because this is sort of a weird one where
It is.
the movie hasn't come out yet.
It hasn't come out yet.
The movie looks good.
It
It,
looks good.
it definitely, when I saw the trailer, I'm like, they're redoing Batman, and after Superman versus Batman and the Justice League thing. I'm just like, it's iffy on that one because that in my opinion wasn't the best thing they could have done, DC.
Yeah, yeah.
But there's a reasonable doubt. But this thing looks interesting. It definitely looks like a more modern 21st century Batman.
It does. It really does.
It looks more
I like
like
the direction they're taking.
it's more of a techie Batman is another way how to put it, and
Mm-hmm.
and more of that vibe. So what was that like building that? Because there isn't that much footage of that out there. There's very little known about it, and we don't really have much to base off of this entire suit and what this is supposed to look like.
Mm-hmm.
And so, what is the creation process like in that entire realm?
So with that costume, I actually had to invest in buying certain pieces of the costume because the costume was going to be really hard to make 100%. Just all the little details and things. Um, so overall, I think what went behind it is, finding the right pieces that would go with the outfit that I was starting to make. Um, so it's pretty much self-explanatory with that one. I think that was actually more simple than Superman. Ironically, I don't know why, but I think that was some of the. I think that's what went behind it. Batman, he's like on the dark side, so I I love Batman. Like I've played all the Arkham series game, and back when I was a kid, I had the GameCube, and I played Batman Dark Tomorrow. That was my first Batman game I ever played. I fell in love with that game. That game was incredible, and I never really seen Batman up until 2009 when they released Arkham Asylum. And I love Batman. He's like reflection of Superman or vice versa. He's another strong male character. He's confident, fierce, badass. And those are things that I've always strived to be, So that's what went behind Batman.
Yeah, and to even go off of the creation side of Batman, you obviously had to buy some pieces and some elements of this cosplay.
Yeah.
And so there's a lot of cosplayers out there that fall into different categories. There's the people that have a concept and they have a sketch, but then they piece it all together and they buy
Yeah.
the pieces, but they still put it together to some degree, and they might like build a part or two on it. And
Yeah.
that's perfectly fine because that's just one version of a cosplay. People buy complete costumes already done or commission it out, and then there's people who build most of it. And so each of those has different challenges. And for the most part, you build a lot of your stuff, so your challenge
I
is
do.
building. But when you're buying pieces, how does that work? Because you have a particular body type versus somebody like
Hmm.
me, it would be very different in measuring and making sure certain things fit. And when you're buying stuff, you're
Hmm.
putting real money into it. How do you go about making sure that it's what it's supposed to be and that entire
Oh
challenge?
yeah. Oh
That's a
yeah.
whole different challenge than everything else.
Yeah, it is. Especially when you're buying things online. You can't try things on, so
Especially if they're pricey too.
especially they're pricey. Yes. That's you're like on your phone, messing with your thumbs, like, oh, should I press order? Should I not? Should I press order? Um, you know, um, so I've actually made the face mask for the costume because the original one that came in did not look like the new movie. So I actually had to cut it up, slice pieces off, glue certain things on it, and I made it look more like the new Batman movie. Um, I think that when it comes to me finding like the right size for my costumes, believe it or not, I actually wear a small or an extra small. Yeah, it's weird,
I'm
right?
calling
I
bullshit
mean,
on that.
you know,
I'm
I
calling
mean,
bullshit on that. Like, I'm seriously calling bullshit on that.
yeah, I mean for real. Yeah, no, I mean seriously because when I wear mediums and large, I look like literally the outfits are swallowing me. You know,
Calling bullshit.
yeah. Hey Andrew, I'm not lying to you. I literally buy my Batman costume is a small. My Superman spandex is an extra small because this is the trick. This is the trick when you I guess when you work out, I guess when you're trying to look for an outfit, you want to find an outfit that brings out your physique. So people think wearing a larger size bring out your physique. Your physique. No, actually wearing a smaller size gives you, brings out more of your physique or whatever your body type is, because it will kind of lay skin tight on your body, so it will be able to like kind of form the shape of your body type. And so that's like, trick psychology there. Yeah. So I buy extra smalls and smalls because those are actually the size that do fit me. I mean, I can breathe. I mean, this right here is an extra small, you know, but it's able to fit well enough to kind of make certain things pop on the out, on my physique, I guess. Yeah, that's where that comes from. I'm not lying to you, Andrew, because I can't wear a medium. A medium looks like a large on me, man. Like I'm just like, I gotta return this. This is horrible.
I'm still calling bullshit, but we'll disagree.
Really? You
We'll,
think I'm wrong?
we'll agree to disagree.
This
How does that
this one
sound?
this one doesn't have a tag, but because it has like one of those like printed tags on the shirt, I can't even. Is this small?
So, obviously we now know that you wear a small or an extra small latex,
Yes.
and this is a perfect segue to talk about Resident Evil and your Alice.
Resident Evil. Yes. Oh, I have so much to talk about that.
So obviously Alice is from the movies. This isn't.
Yes, she is.
This is you didn't do a game version of her.
No.
Alice wasn't
No.
in the
I didn't.
game, and this was from
Yeah.
Afterlife. If I'm
Yeah.
not wrong. So what's the story behind this one? Because I enjoy the movies. I enjoy the games. I love the games. The movies
Yeah.
were
I love
enjoyable
the game.
also. So what was like the inspiration and the story behind this and building it and having that gender bend element into it as well to add that little twist to it?
Yeah. Yeah. Oh yeah. I have a lot to say about this. I love Resident Evil. So to go ahead and take the facts now. My top favorite video games are, of course, number one is Lara Croft Tomb Raider. The second one would have to be Resident Evil. The third one would have to be Grand Theft Auto. I love Grand Theft Auto. The fourth one would have to be Batman. But back on topic about Resident Evil, the reason why it's number two, my second favorite game of all time, is going back to when I was a kid. Back when me and you, we grew up in a time where, because we're millennials. So we grew up in a time where 3D games first took place on the PlayStation 1. So it was like a life changer. So one of the other games I first saw was Resident Evil. As a kid, man, I was afraid for my life. That game is super, super scary, but I loved it. It's like this hardcore zombie game trying to survive, and all this stuff happening. I see Jill, I'm playing as Jill. Oh my gosh, I want to speak on Nemesis. So the remake is incredible. So I actually went back and looked at some old gameplay of Resident Evil 3. Nemesis looks hilarious. It is like comical. I'm like, really? I was like, I was telling my partner the other day, I was like, oh my gosh, I was afraid of him when I was a kid. He just looks silly. And then when he runs, it's like when he runs, it makes like the little sound, click, 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 click. I'm like, ah, really? Nemesis, it just on PS1, he just was very goofy looking. They really stepped their game up on the remake. But you know what? Besides the heroes of Resident Evil, Nemesis is one of my favorite villains. He's so incredible. He's so like unique and incredible, and like this monster. It looks so disgusting. I love it. Um, but I think my passion for Resident Evil started there, and then once I found out a movie was coming out, I was like 7, 8 years old in early 2000s because the first movie came out in 2002. And I was like, oh my gosh, talking to my big brother. I was like, oh my gosh, I love RCA. A freaking Resident Evil film is coming out, and it's featuring this badass chick. I don't know who she is, but I watched the movies. I'm like, hey man, Alice is a badass. She's like this badass, confident chick. She kicks ass and takes names. Um, I know the films get a lot of criticism and a lot of shit from fans because they didn't stick to the core foundation of Resident Evil is supposed to be, but I truly enjoyed it. Now, I didn't enjoy the last one, the final chapter. That was just a mess. I don't know what happened. They changed the whole story around. So all of a sudden, Alice was the Red Queen, and then then the real Alice was the CEO of Umbrella. Really? I didn't really like the last film. And then you couldn't really see anything. It was a lot of jump cuts. Like you couldn't really see anything. But the story behind that is very similar to Lara Croft. You know, I tend to admire strong women. Because historically, women have not been treated fairly. And so, we all have to realize that we have a mother, we have a sister, we have a cousin, we have someone that we look up to that's a female. And just the way that society always has treated females is complete bullshit. So I love how movies come around or video games come around and they change that whole perspective up. You know, I just really admire strong females that kick ass, and Alex is one of them. So I was like, you know what? I'm gonna be Alex. I'm gonna make this costume. I made everything scratch from EVA foam, and everything. It took a while. Then I think that's the story behind that. Yeah.
And so, what is it like to really get to build this costume out and build it out in that style and really capture what's in that movie and capture the essence of her character? Because in many ways it does, and it's a real skill, essence of somebody, but also add your twist.
Yeah. Um, that was it was a gear shift for me because I had to keep telling myself, okay, this is not Tomb Raider, this is not Tomb Raider. I can't look like Tomb Raider. I have to look like Alice because they're very similar, you know. And I specifically did the Alice from Resident Evil Afterlife because I love the way she looks in that movie, and then I love the clones. Oh my god, the clones are so badass in the movie. The clones, but I wasn't gonna do the clone outfit because the clone outfits are very simple. It's just a straight black latex suit with guns. And I was like, yeah, I can do better than that. So I decided to create the actual costume of what the real Alice wore, with the back holster, the what I guess I call it a back shoulder holster. The holster that I made, yeah.
It's more like a cop holster, like a lieutenant cop holster.
Yeah, a complex holster. That's what I call it because there's a lot going on with that holster. That took a while to make too, and I just think that's sad about that situation. Hope that answers what you was asking. Yeah, yeah. Because I kind of got off topic because my passion for Alice started coming in. I think I just kind of lost track a little bit. Yeah.
Yeah, so it's and I mean I really enjoy this, and I think it's really interesting to go this route. I also think it's interesting that you went the movie route because I don't think people go the movie route. And you said that it receives criticism.
They don't.
And look, I mean, look, I get it in which that there is an issue of purists in cosplay and in certain sectors, and obviously if you go to speak to a Resident Evil fan, they lean one way over the other, just by nature.
Oh yeah.
Even with and the remakes are the exception in many ways in the video game because the remakes were done so well that it's hard not to acknowledge Resident Evil 2's remake, and Resident Evil 2's remake is fantastic.
Incredible.
And,
Incredible.
And the fact that
Love those games.
They were made with a lot of love and a lot of money. The money wasn't, cut to build those games back up to where they should be.
Yeah.
They're going to be doing it with Resident Evil 4, which is crazy because Resident Evil 4 is a perfect game in so many ways. And when they remake it, it's going to be an even more amazing game.
I was afraid when I played that game. I was literally afraid.
Oh, that game is unbelievable, and I'm replaying it right now to speak.
Oh,
I love it. But so what is even that like to be at a con with that? Because that probably is that is a fair cosplay, somewhat that people might not love for the reasons that we just stated, which is fair. in this circumstance.
Yeah. You know what, Andrew? I'm gonna be honest with you. I have not been able to go to a cosplay in Alice yet because this costume was made this year, and the cons got canceled. I was hoping to wear it at San Diego or Dragon Con here in Atlanta. Never happened. So I can't speak for that right now. Hopefully next year.
Well, there's always next year, and I do want to talk about one more cosplay, and it's behind you, and we mentioned it already, but I do want to touch
Power Rangers.
exactly. So
Yeah.
let's talk about this one because obviously everybody knows the Power Rangers in some fashion
Yes.
or another, whether it's a comic book thing or it's Simon Cowell singing "Go Go Power Rangers" for $1 million
Hmm.
for charity, or
Yeah.
actually $1.1 million for charity. It's a very funny
Yeah.
clip. Very funny clip. Look it up. It's one of the funniest things you will ever see because apparently Simon Cowell, for those who don't know, licensed Power Rangers for a disco song.
Really?
Yes, he like for a lot of money. Apparently, it was like either like 10 or like $20 million.
Simon Cowell.
They did a disco song of Power Rangers. So if anybody wants to go find that, be my guest. But I just but getting back on topic, you have
Oh
the
my
armor
god.
too. So
Yeah.
first off, why the White Ranger? And then secondly, we sort of spoke about it, but what is that entire story on what this particular ranger? There's legitimately like 50 that you could choose from.
You know what's so crazy? I was actually gonna be the Yellow Ranger, the saber tooth Tiger Ranger. That was gonna be another gender bend cosplay. And but if you know Power Rangers very well, and in the Super Sentai, the Yellow Power Ranger was actually a guy in the original Mighty Morphin in Japan. But here in America, I guess they wanted to not just have one female, so they put the yellow female here in America as a female. So I guess you can kind of call it. It would have been gender bend, half gender bend. If I was gonna go based off the Japanese version, I wouldn't have been, gender bend. But I was gonna be the Yellow Ranger, cause you know why? Cause yellow is my favorite color. I love yellow. So I was like, why not just be, my favorite, superhero as my favorite color, But I looked at the costume and I was like, Yellow Ranger, I'm not downing the Yellow Power Ranger at all, but the costume just looks very simple. I was like, I wanna maybe be the White Ranger simply because I do think that he's an amazing Power Ranger, and he's a leader. I feel like I'm a leader personally. I like the the White Ranger. It kind of relates to Batman and Superman. Just that strength and that power. It goes back to those personal characteristics I have within myself. So I was like, you know what, I'm going to be the White Ranger because white means pure and innocence. So why not be beautiful white instead of my favorite color yellow? And I decided to make it. That was the story behind it, the origin story behind it. Yeah.
Also, it probably helps that he is a leader or she's a leader. I forget which Power Rangers. It's been a while since I've seen the Power Rangers. I'm the first person.
I am a big fan of Power Rangers. I still watch it today at 27 years old. I still get on YouTube and look at clips and things, man. I know all the seasons.
I am out of season on that. I am beyond that. I'm a Transformers guy.
Transformers. That's awesome.
So that's more my jam. I'm an anime guy. Clearly, I am not versed in my Power Rangers. It's been probably like at least 15 years, if not longer, since I've seen the Power Rangers.
Ah,
So
yeah. I
so,
used to
so
get all the Megazords. I tell my mom, like, hey, I want the new Megazord for the new season. And she'd be like, oh, another one? I'm like, yeah. So she go and buy it for me. I have the new Megazord toys. I'm really I love things that transform, that make something new into something bigger. And that's also Transformers too. With that idea.
even off of this though, having a leader character, what I find is that, and it seems to be a common thread with your cosplays, is that you really gravitate towards leader characters versus characters who are not. And so I'm wondering, and it's a little bit putting you on the spot, but do you find that you're more invested in a leader character, because you care more, and also as when you're cosplaying, you're on a con. You know, you can embold that character, really step up into that character, if that makes any sense. Because it's kind of hard to step into a support character in many ways.
Um, you know what? Yeah, I'm gonna be honest. I do gravitate towards more like leader characters, and it's not because I don't have anything personal towards supporting characters. I think supporting characters are amazing.
You just want to
I
be
just
selfish and then be the leader.
huh?
You just want to be selfish and be the leader.
Well, I don't really want to say it like that, but yeah. I just really gravitated to strong characters because, personally, I've been through a lot of like trauma in my life personally. I've been through situations where I wasn't, and also going back to when I was a kid, in school and everything. From kindergarten to 12th grade, by the way, I was never the cool kid, and I would constantly get picked on, and
They're
even though I was like,
overrated.
yo, huh?
The cool kids are overrated.
They are overrated now. I mean, hey, look at them now in their 20s. They're not really popular anymore. But but to get back on topic, yeah. I just feel like I've dealt with a lot of like issues in my life with other people. So I've always struggled to find like my ground. Who is Devontae? Oh, I just exposed my real name. Yeah. So we can get into also why I am DJ Croft. So I'm DJ Croft because first my DJ is acronym for my first and last name. My real name is Devontae. My last name is Jones. Um, and Croft obviously comes from Laura Croft, my second half. So, uh, so my name I had to be DJ Croft. I've had people that commented and said things like, "Oh, you should be Lawrence Croft. How about Laura Croft? How about Lewis Croft?" I'm like, no, no, those names are not. No, I decided to choose my stage name. It had to be something that was related to me personally, and I chose my first and last name. The first letter of my first and last name. I wasn't gonna be Lawrence Croft. I mean, I don't have Lawrence in my name nowhere. Um, but yeah, to get back on topic, um, I just had a lot of struggles in my life personally. So I think I've always just needed some kind of push to get me out of that, to get me out of those, traumatic situations. And it was always a strong character from movies, from video games, as a kid and growing up to now. And those are people that I've, gravitated to. And that has made me feel, like worth it and making me feel like the person that I'm truly am. I mean, I'm not living a fantasy. I really do think that um, I am a strong leader. I tend to impact people, I hope, in a positive way. Um, and I think and if it was a zombie apocalypse, I would not be the one crying. I would be the one having my gun, boo, boo, boo. I will be the real Alice without my telekinesis power that she has. I wish I had that, but I don't. But I think that's the story behind me gravitating towards strong characters. It's not that I had anything against supporting characters. I think a lot of it has to do with like the personal trauma that I dealt in my life, and I just needed something to push me to know my value, my worth.
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think it's also your personality in many ways. Where I know people who really love cosplaying supporting characters, and
Mm-hmm.
they just like doing that. They love doing that, and they don't want to be front and center.
Yeah.
And I know people in business like that, where I have friends who are business partners, and one of them is more of a supporting character. They own 50% of the company, but they're the glue that works behind the scenes, versus the front and center stage for the
Yeah.
reason why and they're just as important. It has nothing to do with
Yeah.
level of
Yeah.
importance, but sometimes people excel in certain areas. It's kind of like somebody might be an executive producer on a show, and somebody might be on a podcast, somebody might be the host of the podcast. both are equally as important. It's just a matter of
Yeah.
sometimes somebody has
Yeah.
better skills as an executive,
Yeah.
in certain
Exactly.
regards. And so I think you're really a ham, as I was teasing you before. That's you love attention. I could tell right from the start.
Really? Are you putting me on the spot? That's not true.
But I do want to talk about one more thing, and it's not cosplay related, but it somewhat is, and it's a little bit sad, we do need to talk about it. And that's obviously COVID-19 has changed the game as far as cosplay goes and cons go and things like that. And I said it's a little bit depressing. I'm giving everybody a fair warning.
It is. It
And
is.
obviously, and before we get too far, COVID is temporary. By definition, it is temporary. The temporary though could be anywhere from a year to 3 years, depending on what's going on.
Mm-hmm.
Pfizer just released the vaccination, and they're working on it, and it's pretty. It looks good. It looks good. They
Yeah.
released, I think, yesterday and today. It looks really good.
Ah, that's awesome.
And obviously, it's gonna have to go through some stuff, but it's one of those
I
things
hope
where.
so.
But obviously, this is being addressed. But I am curious, what has the con scene been like for you? I mean, you mentioned San Diego Comic Con, and then also I'm just curious where you think it's going, because things have to change by nature. Because
Yeah.
I'm under the pretense con crud is real, and if you've never heard of that term or never had it, if somebody
No, I haven't heard of it.
if somebody has something at a con, everybody gets it. So if you get sick after you come back home from a con, you got what
Holy crap.
con
Oh my
crud.
God.
We all knew it existed, but nobody really paid any attention to it. And COVID, in my opinion, has proven the concept that cons were never really safe, as far as, because if you put 20,000 people in an area that's not really all that well ventilated,
Mm-hmm.
naturally something's going to happen.
Oh yeah.
So I'm just curious
100%.
how you view all this and where you think it's going and what improvements cons need to make, because not to keep going, but you can't stop somebody from wanting to take a picture with like a cool cosplayer. And I'm sure if
Mm-hmm.
you're at a con, people want to take a picture with you or of you and all that stuff. So it's like it's a tricky situation. But I'm just curious your opinion on it.
Yeah, my take on it is, you know, you live in the United States right now. The numbers are going up, so I really think that I don't see any possible future cons within the next 6 months, maybe.
Summer,
I hope
summer is
six
the
months
earliest.
in, huh?
Summer is going to be the earliest, and in late
Oh
summer,
God,
and that's being optimistic.
that's being optimistic because San Diego Comic Con is in July.
I'll
Oh, my
give a
way
little bit more
understanding.
info about that. So I'm in DC, and I'm actually moving out of DC for my
Oh,
own
okay.
reasons. But what happened is that there was a con called Awesome Con, and they
Hmm.
canceled, and they were supposed to happen in April of the 2021, and they just
Okay.
moved it to August without any notification and just kicked it back for 4 months further out. They canceled.
What?
So that's an indicator where, so they were going to be doing it in April of 2021, and then they moved it to August of 2021, and they
Hmm.
back 4 months, partially
Okay.
because of what's happening and what they think is
Um,
going to happen. So that's an indicator where there's all these indicators on the board of stuff, for lack of a better word.
you know what? There's actually something new you just pitched to me about. At least they're trying like like kind of like delay them and move them forward to different time. That's actually a new topic I haven't heard of because I'm just thinking they're just canceling them left and right. But I think what I see realistically is I do think that it's gonna go on for another half a year to a year, and I optimistically probably won't see a con maybe start happening until like 2022. Unfortunately, um, you know, until America gets their shit together, I don't think that.
So the world gets their shit together.
Yo, yeah, the world gets their shit
The
together.
San Diego Comic Con is not an American con.
Yeah, it's not.
It's an
Yeah,
international con. New York
it's
Comic Con
international.
is an
Yeah.
international con. And if you have a con in Oklahoma, that's an American con. There's a
Yeah,
difference between the two. That doesn't mean one's better than the other. I want to
yeah,
clarify
yeah,
that,
yeah.
but it's San Diego International. They say
International.
they're right in the title. It's international.
Yeah, it says international. So, who? That's a hard one. I don't think. I think that it would take people to just. I would just take the world to actually sit down and think about other people's lives. Because I think what I'm seeing is people are very self-consumed. They think that they're invincible. Like, oh, they think to themselves, oh, oh, it's not gonna happen to me. But people have to sit down and look at the numbers that people are dying. It may not be you that's dying, but people are dying, and then a lot of times these people can't even go to their funeral because they have to cremate them because that virus is still active in the body after they pass, and that's so like traumatizing to know that. So people have to sit down and really think about other people and to realize like, oh, I have to take precautions. I have to wear a mask. I have to wear gloves. I have to not go out a lot. And I'm still seeing that. I haven't really seen a lot of news around the world, but specifically here in Atlanta, I'm seeing people going out to clubs, and I'm like, when do the clubs open up? So so I'm
Did
just
you
so confused.
also did you feel that even if they open up and let's say that this thing is solved in a year, that there's going to be an issue of people not jumping so quickly back into the fire,
Yep,
and
I agree.
for me, I do a lot of panels at cons, and I'm not jumping so quickly back in, and it has nothing to do with a con reopening up. I'm saying to myself, look, this isn't safe, and I'm not sold so easily on it, and especially.
Yeah, yeah, me too. I'm not so easily on it, on it either.
And look, I mean, I'm not getting paid to do panels or anything like that, so I'm not even furthermore sold out. Like,
Yeah.
also, my issue is that I don't know what the economy is going to look like. Where right now the U.S. economy is insanely volatile by definition. Where it's good and bad in many ways. Where people are doing better than they've ever done in America, especially if you're like 40 and you're 401k, you're doing better than you've ever done. But
Mhm.
at the same time, you might be having issues at the exact same time. So it's a very weird position to be in America right now for
It really is.
society, because you could be doing great in pile B and doing horrible in pile A at the exact same time, which means that you're at a zero gain. But certain things, economically, it's a nightmare. But
Yeah, it really
I
is.
don't know even like what it's going to look like, because going to a con is a luxury. It's not a requirement. And so
Yeah.
when
I mean, just speaking on the movie theaters. Like for example, AMC, they went bankrupt because of coronavirus. So, there are so many businesses that are losing money. And speaking about cons, there's independent artists that depend on, cons to go make their money. And, I've seen a couple of people on my social media, they're depressed or like, upset of the fact that cons are being canceled because they're artists. So they can't go to cons and make their money because these are people who don't work a 9 to 5.
you're
These people who
preaching
rely
to
on
the
their
wrong
art.
person. You're preaching to the wrong person on this one, and I'll explain what I mean. I
Okay.
I've done about 85% of the people I interview are independent comic creators, and
Oh,
they live on con money. It's a big deal,
yeah. It's a
and
big deal.
it doesn't seem like it, but a lot of people live on this, and
Mm-hmm.
but also there are people who are whining and bitching who don't need it. Nothing against the DC crew like Scott Snyder and Greg Capello,
Mm-hmm.
Batman and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
They don't need that signature money, and they're getting it
Yeah.
elsewhere. They don't. They're not the people who are dying,
Right.
but there are a variety of people who need it, and because there are people who do like 10 commissions in a weekend, and they do like 25 cons a year, and when
Very true.
you're pulling in 3 grand in a weekend, and your table costs with your hotel like 700
Heck
bucks.
yeah.
you're making a lot of money. You know, you're making $2,300, and on
Heck
top of your
yeah.
other work, and you're making it relatively quickly, and you do 2 cons a month. You know, you're making, you know, like 4 or 5
So much money.
and plus all your other work. I mean, you're doing all right. You know, it makes the difference between you having a good year and a bad year.
Yeah,
So
I know.
so
It's pretty tough.
so
Um,
yeah, no, it's a crazy thing, and I don't even know how it's going to be done because it's crazy because you can't stop me from wanting to take a picture with you. And if a con does that, think about how that hurts your brand, and think about how it hurts me.
yeah, right, exactly.
Because now, like I'm gonna say this and then take this in the most non-offensive way. If I can't take a picture with you and you say you can't take a picture with me, you're an asshole.
Yeah, yep, you sure are.
And
You know what?
even if the
You know what? I wanted to. I'm sorry.
oh
Yeah, I
please
also wanted to elaborate on that. You know, I've met a couple, not many, but a couple of cosplayers. I'm not gonna say their name because I want to stay professional. But
so let me ask a question. When you say you met a couple of cosplayers, there's a division between professional cosplayer and regular cosplayer. Are
um,
we talking about somebody who identifies as a professional? And I don't mean that they're respectful and this is a professional conversation. I mean that they have a certain number of followers that classifies them where they are sort of
yes,
guest at a con
yeah,
position.
yeah. I've met some of those kind of cosplayers, and I was just not so pleased with their personality. They're very uppity up and like, oh my gosh, I need a glass of water, or like, I would go like this one girl. Um, I followed her on social media. She's a beautiful, brown skinned girl. She's did all these different cosplays. I was like, oh my gosh, I want to meet her. And I guess she lives here in Atlanta. We met her at MomoCon, and
I know who it
dang.
is. I know who it is.
But we're gonna stay professional.
Oh, I'm
Um,
not going to tell. I
yeah.
have an idea. But continue.
Um, but yeah, I was like, babe, oh my god, there she is. She's so beautiful. Let's take a picture with her. And then I'll go up and take a picture right there. And she was just very snobby. It's like she didn't really care for my existence. That I appreciated her cosplay. I was just like a number to her.
About the
So
money. It's about the money and the Benjamins.
when I walked off, I was like, this freaking cunt. And
You
and
don't
so
feel good. You don't feel good about it. You feel
yeah,
dirty.
right,
You feel dirty.
right. And I'm just trying to figure out, does this really exist in the cosplay community? I thought this was all positivity, and which it is, um, for the most part. But I was just so disappointed. And I've seen other, what they call themselves professional cosplayers, in parentheses, that they seem to be very like stuck on kind of snobby. And me as a cosplayer, that's something that I don't represent. I don't care how famous I become, or how known I come, or how much I'm like. I always know where I come from. Especially a little boy that was bullied and picked on in school. I would not want someone to feel that way. So I just think that's just a character flaw.
It's the way I've studied this because I've had professionals on, I've had small people on, and I'm actually very much committed to doing 1090, meaning it's time that people who were a lot smaller get on my show, and also a lot more men get on my show.
Mm-hmm.
It's a commitment. I've been very public about it because it's time that things change. And
Mm-hmm.
for me, and this is my position, where it's time that cosplay is for everybody. I don't really like the way that the professionals have gone. I don't like their attitude. I think that there's some of them are very nice and some of them are,
Some of them are very nice.
but at the same time,
Same
a
time.
a lot of them, and there's certain people, and then also a lot
Toxic.
in the middle of COVID did nothing, did nothing to help out the community, and I'm calling bullshit on that, and I wish that more people would because I am not a cosplayer. It is not my duty to lift up cosplayers.
Yeah.
But in the independent comic world, and I've spoke about this very publicly, I'm going to continue. During March 25th, I started lifting up the indie professional wrestling world.
Oh wow.
An indie wrestler by any stretch of the imagination, but I started interviewing a lot of indie wrestlers.
Oh wow, that's
Started
awesome.
interviewing a lot of indie comic creators and giving them a platform and across the board. And I'm a fan of both of those things. I enjoy it. I read a lot of that. I watch a lot of indie wrestling. But it's as somebody, I decided to step in and do my job. And I have 3,900 Facebook fans on my page.
Mm-hmm.
I'm not a superstar, but fast forward, now I'm entering this space and I'm giving people who have less than 5,000 Instagram followers an opportunity, or 10,000.
Yeah, they deserve it. You know,
And,
always
and there are
like
people who have not done that who need to do it. And if I go back to cons, that is, and I do panels, this is the first thing I'm stating. And I'm saying, look, you go buy from them, that's what you're supporting. If you want to
yeah.
buy my shirt, buy my class, buy something from me, or you want to like my page, this is what you're supporting. That doesn't mean I'm not going to do the big guys either, but that means that I also do the small guys. And the small
Yeah.
guys and people
Because they all
deserve
matter.
an opportunity who haven't been granted one, because I've been granted plenty of opportunities and I get both. And it's I figured out how to do it, and that's what I'm about.
And
Cosplay community needs that revelation, but
they do.
unfortunately, a lot of guys want to stare at tits.
You know, I also have to piggyback on what you're saying too. I always say this is the moral. This is a moral that should be said. You always make a stronger impact on people when you are positive, when you make an impact in their life, versus you being toxic in their life. People just walk away, and that's exactly what I did. I didn't feel right around her. I was like, okay, I'm done. She thinks she's all that. I don't got time. I don't have time for this. I'm here to have a great time. Like, and so she did not leave a good impact on me. So, you know, it's all about being a positive person. At the end of the day, people need to take the stick out their ass and realize that you are still a human being. You still put on pants every day. Still use the bathroom. You still eat. Still got emotions. You are no, even to a celebrity, you're no bigger than nobody else on this earth. When you die, you're going down to the 6 feet like everybody else. So I just get a little puzzled when I see these people. I'm like, oh, okay. So they influenced me to be even a nicer person to people who like to come up to me and take pictures, or um want to do things with me, and it actually has made a bigger impact on people rather than that experience.
There's a great saying: the most
Mhm.
successful people donate the most time. If
Mhm.
you go through so this is my 200th interview for everybody who watches all this.
Yeah.
And I didn't want to publicize that directly because I didn't want people to put hype behind this. But
Yeah.
at this point in the interview, I think it's appropriate. I've interviewed some of the top people. I've interviewed somebody who ran DC Con for 12 years, or 8 to 12 years, give or take. And very successful person. Started out very early. I think it was my fourth or fifth interview in my show. Very successful person. Obviously wanted to be on my show, gave me an opportunity because he was successful.
Mhm.
My point is that the most successful people in life give the most time and tend to be positive and are very generous and are always upbeat and happy. And look, everybody has a bad day, but
Yeah. Everybody has a bad day,
at the same time, though,
but
that
wake up
this
and get off your
person
ground.
who was
Mhm.
being an asshole by definition, and I mean, I'm not that cosplayer. She was being sort of a little bit of an asshole at.
Yeah.
And I mean, we got to call a spade a spade. It could be that I'm not saying she's an asshole in life. I'm just saying that's how she was acting. That was her behavior.
Mhm.
For those who understand, that's my words, not yours. So you can disassociate. I'm perfectly fine with that. I'll take the heat.
Yeah.
But something must be going on in that person's life where they must not be happy. Because if you're at a con dressed as a character and everybody is impressed with your cosplay and you're not happy, you have a problem that obviously something is going on in your life.
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
And
No,
so,
that's psychological. Yeah. No. 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 That's psychology.
or you're not,
Facts.
or you don't feel that you've achieved success yet. And you might have 3 million Instagram followers and you feel like it's not enough. And that you feel like you're not at the top of the mountain. I get 200 plays a day on my other podcast. I feel successful. Do I want to do better? Yes, but I realize I recognize success, and so that's
Mm-hmm.
the point about that entire thing. And so that's what I'm trying to do is at least clean a part of that up and give a lot of people opportunity that need it. And I'm starting.
Yeah.
And when you start looking for people who need opportunity, it comes. It's an amazing thing, and I guarantee
Mm-hmm.
you to stay positive that your attitude at a con probably is better than some of the people who are paying some of these cosplayers, even prominent cosplayers who are snotty and snobby. I guarantee you that your attitude is making some of these cons a lot better. So like, that's my
Mm-hmm.
favorite character, and you're the White Ranger, and you said a line. Oh my God, this brings the character to life, for instance, or that
Yeah.
that Laura Croft is great that you did, or that
Yeah.
something like that. And so I guarantee you that you're wiping away that negative experience because if you felt that way, somebody else who wants to take a picture also feels that way.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not you is the point.
Mm-hmm. Oh, yeah. That makes sense. And that's what I have to tell myself. I was like, people who are negative, they usually have something going on internally with them. It's not really me that's the problem. So yeah, everything you're saying, is 100% true.
It's them,
Yeah.
it's not you.
Yeah. Yes, sir. You're
So
definitely right about that.
so on that note, I think this is the perfect opportunity to remain positive because that's the negative part of the complete interview, and I purposely saved it for the last segment. But
Okay.
but I do want to give you an opportunity to self promote. So where can people find you? I know you have an Instagram. I don't know if you have a Facebook. I know TikTok
Yeah, I
is a
do.
jam because TikTok is fun. I have a TikTok. I just opened one up, so I'm having a lot of fun with that.
Oh, okay.
Twitter's great. Also, I don't know if you have a Twitter,
Mm-hmm.
but where can people find you? Because I definitely want people to know your Instagram. I definitely want people to know your Facebook page if you have one. Where can people
Okay.
support you? I don't know if you have prints or anything like that, but you should be monetizing, and I want you to make money, and I want people to support you.
Okay. Yeah. So for everyone out there, my name is DJ Croft. You can find me on Twitter, Instagram, Facebook, YouTube, and Twitch. Because I also Twitch. I don't Twitch often like I should because my schedule is really busy. But I'm on Twitch. Okay, so those are I think the 4 or 5 social medias you can find me on.
So what should they look
Uh,
up? What should they look up to find it?
uh yeah, just type in DJ Croft. The letter D, the letter J, then space Croft. My name is the same on all my platforms. You cannot miss me. I think I'm the only DJ Croft. So you can't really miss me. So that's where you can find me.
So there you go, everybody. Support DJ Croft. Obviously, this entire interview was a lot of fun. Really enjoyed this interview, and you have
I
to.
really enjoyed this interview too.
Oh, I'm glad because I'm always nervous when I do one of these. It's super nervous. It's terrifying. It's not easy to interview people. If you think I make it look easy, it's not. I promise you, it is difficult. But thoroughly enjoyed it. And as I was going to say, you have to support indie projects, indie cosplayers. Super important because without them, they're not going to survive. And you have
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
support is not just money anymore. I don't know if how Twitch works with money and things like that and supporting that way. I'm not versed in that, but I think there's a way
Mm-hmm.
how to do it. But it's also supporting with watching things on YouTube and watching videos, liking Facebook posts, liking Facebook pages,
Yes.
Instagram,
Yes.
definitely following on Instagram. That's a big one. Your DMs are open on Instagram, so if somebody even just shooting somebody a message saying, "Hey, I really enjoy your cosplay," it doesn't even have to be
Yeah.
a conversation. You just be like, "Hey, really enjoy your cosplay," or commenting on Instagram is a big one, super important, and all
Yeah.
that stuff is free. So that's the other thing is that there's no more excuses anymore. Where all this stuff is free, and you can choose any of your social medias that you want, and all of that is super important. Commenting on the Facebook page, liking photos, checking things out, saying hey, I really like this, or hearting it. Hearts are super important right now. Likes are great. Hearts are better. Definitely because
Mm-hmm.
affect the algorithm better, and it lets people know and lets Facebook know that this is much more desired than I like it.
Yeah.
So definitely do that. And all this stuff, as I stated, is free. So there's no more excuses anymore because everybody has internet, everybody has electricity, and
Everybody has. Yep.
if you don't have internet and electricity, that's the only excuse you have. And obviously, you have a bigger problem if that's the case. But if you're watching this and
Yeah.
hearing me say that, obviously you have something that I don't have, which is a technology which I want because I like making money, and we can license this technology out. And I really would like to make money. And more importantly, I'm going to be making money, and you will make money too. But I will be making money, which is what I would like to do. So clearly, if you're in that boat, that's your only excuse, and well, you can come find me, and we'll make money together. But beyond that, social media is free, no excuse.
It sure is.
So definitely gotta support it. You gotta support
Gotta
cosplayers,
support.
indie cosplayers. You gotta support people who are not at the top 1%. You know, you
Mm-hmm.
gotta support the young bucks coming up, for lack of a better word, because they're doing some amazing things, and I guarantee.
And you know what? You know, I want to piggyback on what you stated about you got to support, people who cosplay because I'm on social media. We all have social media, so nowadays everything is so much more superficial. You know, the thing is, there's no excuse. You're right because what I've witnessed is I'm a cosplayer, so I consider myself an artist because I'm making myself from scratch. I can get like 200 likes on the post, but then someone that has a hot body that's just standing there doing nothing gets 1,000, 2,000 likes, and I'm like, what are people on social media doing? They're not really supporting people who actually have talent. They're so focused on the superficiality of social media, and I think that has become a problem within our generation, the millennials and the Gen X kids. Um, they're not really aiming their perspective of social media, what it's supposed to be used for. So, towards the right people. And I think that's important that you said that there's no excuse. I mean, I'm not saying having a great body is a bad thing, no. But when I see that I've put, all my hard working time to put all these concepts together to take a photo, and it doesn't do as good as someone who just stands in front of the camera and took a picture, but they get 30,000 likes because they're hot. And I'm like, really? There's no excuse for people to not show support to these people who live off of social media for their finances, or who live or who use social media as a platform. So I totally agree with you. Yeah, I think talent is there.
Yeah, no, I agree, and I think that there's no excuse anymore, and I think that you have to support,
Mm-hmm.
and I think that this is the answer. And also, you could go support that top tier person, but you could also support the bottom. It's when you
Yeah,
support one, it becomes a problem, and it's when you support the top, because you can always punch up, you can't punch down, and
you cannot punch
you
down.
could tear down, you can't tear up,
Yep.
meaning that you could tear up and you could tear down. But if you support that top person and support the little person, that's great. And here's the craziest thing, and this happens, by the way, and this has happened on this show where I have supported a bunch of people who are at the very bottom, and when they had like 3,000 Instagram followers, and now they have 50,000. And guess what? When you're there first, you see everything that happens in that growth, and those people remember you.
Yeah, they sure
and
do.
and so that's the other thing why you should support younger people and the newcomers that are coming up, because they might not be at the 2 million mark ever, but they will be at some point if they're talented enough at the 500,000 mark, and you'll be there first. So that's all I'm saying. I think that's the best way how to wrap this up. So thank you for being on.
Thank you. Hey, thank you for inviting me to be part of your interview, Andrew. This has been an amazing experience. This was definitely the highlight of my day. It really was.
I'm glad that's the case, because this is the first time anybody ever told me that in 200 interviews. So clearly,
Really?
people have been appreciative, but this is absolutely wonderful, and I was super excited to do it because you are beyond talented, and I just want to help you get in front of more people, because really you need all
Thank
support
you.
can get. And
Thank you, Andrew, so much. I'm so humbled.
I
I'm
think
so humbled.
I
Thank
think I
you
think
so
the
much.
biggest problem you have is just getting in front of people, because I think your talent will carry you enough beyond that. I think
Hmm.
it's a matter of just getting in front of the right people, and I'm saying it on air because I really believe that, and I think it's honest. I think that is because I think you are talented. I think you're clever enough in your cosplays, how you build them, and how they're really perfected, and I think that's something.
Hmm.
It's just a matter of getting in front of the right people and getting in front of enough of the right people.
Uh huh. Oh, well, you know what, Andrew? That really makes my night. I'm so humbled. This through the highlight of my day, and everything you just said. Now, just so warm right now. Thank you so much. I'm happy that someone appreciate my work. That's what it's about. It's about making connections with other people and making relationships. Not, and I love doing this. I love people. I love connecting with other people, and I'm happy that I was able to meet you today. I definitely think this was definitely, um, I want to say a once in a lifetime experience for me. So to meet someone as awesome as you, because I was never expecting this. So this is definitely the highlight of my day. It really is.
Well, I think that that's a perfect note, and this is a wrap.
All right. Nice to meet you, Andrew.